Hey you guys, welcome back to the channel once again. It's a Monday. Mondays are awesome. I can't even say that without wanting to vomit. Time for a warm-up drawing. Today, we're drawing dinosaurs. Alright, so this is what we're dealing with this morning. So I'm going to be drawing with a color erase pencil, kind of my standard go-to. I also use Blackwing pencils. I love, whenever I'm drawing with graphite, this is pretty much my go-to. And I'm going to be drawing on Bristol board this morning. So, dinosaurs. We love drawing dinosaurs. Why? Because they're kind of like dragons and mythical creatures. And who doesn't love drawing dragons and mythical creatures? I mean, they're like, you know, to even think that a creature like this existed, man, mind blown. So that's what I'm doing this morning. Drawing a raptor, an Indoraptor, maybe the Indoraptor. I like the raptor from the Jurassic Park movie that had all the gold on him, and he was kind of a mixture, and he could you know, they mixed him with different types of creatures, you know, with the DNA. And he could go invisible, and he could glow in the dark, and he could spit acid. Man, that was a really cool creature. That was like out of the movies. Of course, it was a movie. But I liked it because it was, you know, we'd already seen Jurassic Park. We knew dinosaurs were dangerous, but whenever they involved man, and man got involved, suddenly the dinosaur kind of turned into a quasi-super monster. So that's what I liked about it. What I'm doing now is creating that roadmap. You know, I talk about that over and over again. Thinking three-dimensionally, thinking form, thinking shape, foundations. You know, I was thinking about foundation of the weekend. You know, foundation in a lot of things. Foundation in your life, foundation in your finances, foundation in your drawing career, and how, you know, we as people have been kind of programmed to get things instantaneously. Is that even a word? Yes. Instantaneously, and, you know, we're not willing to put in those hours upon hours that really, that's kind of what it takes to get something done in your life, you know, understanding, you know, going to class, going to school, sitting down, taking a tutorial, reading a book. I mean, can you honestly say, and I can't because, you know, I do a lot of digital reading, you know, a traditional book. When's the last time you sat down with a traditional book, a paperback, a hardback, and read the entire thing from start to finish? Some of you are avid readers, and I get that. But I think that's, you know, something that we've kind of lost, is that ability to concentrate and slow down. And, you know, foundation is one of those things that you have to develop over time, so it takes time. You know, whenever you build a house, you know, I remember having a house built in Kissimmee a while back, whenever I lived in Kissimmee, and it took like 2 weeks to a month in hot weather for the foundation to cure, because they have to have the foundation solid before they can go in and put in, you know, all those other elements that help build the house. You know, most of us want to be like, yeah, screw the foundation, you know, go ahead and just get everything built. I want to get in there as soon as possible so I can go ahead and start enjoying. And that's kind of the lesson today that I want to really kind of focus on, is building a good foundation, not only in your illustration, but also in the way that you create things, right? You want to have that good basis to really build the illustration on, and having a good roadmap and putting in those elements in their positioning, in proportion, in the composition will help balance things. You know, we as human beings really love balance. You know, I'm not talking about standing on a balance beam. I mean, it's nice whenever you don't fall over. But balance is one of those things, you know, if you look in human history, if you look in different cultures, balance is one of those things that is paramount. It's key. You know, in the Asian culture and you know, the feng shui and how you balance things and balance elements in your environment and, you know, your body and all of those things. And foundation, again, is one of those things that you can never skimp on. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm just putting in the roadmap. It looks like a lot of scribbles. Yeah, I know. I've had that comment before. It's like, I watch you scribble for like 20 minutes and then you put in your fine line and it's like, it just suddenly appears on my face. I hear that a lot. And, you know, I'm not going to apologize for it, because what I'm doing is I'm just kind of sculpting, you know? I'm thinking 3 dimensions, I'm thinking height, width, and depth going into the paper, and I'm sculpting this character as I go. And sometimes, honestly, sometimes it works out, and sometimes it does not. Sometimes I have to go back and I have to fix things, and you guys have seen that. And in drawing, it's, you know, if you have a good strong foundation, then you can really build upon. That's why a lot of times I'll go back and I'll spend a little bit more time on the sketch and time lapse, and you'll see me fix a lot of the things that, you know, I've messed up during, you know, me talking and not concentrating on what I'm doing. I always tell my wife, I say, I'm not a multitasker. I'm a single multitasker. And she's like, what's that mean? I don't understand what that means. That means I'm really good at concentrating on one thing at a time. But if I have like 5 things going on, I can switch gears and open up that next box and concentrate on that one item. And I can forget about these other items. And what that does for my brain is it helps me focus on one item and not get bored with that single item, because I'll switch gears and I'll go over to another item. And yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. You know, I get bored really easy, and I've noticed, especially whenever I'm working by myself, I have to take a lot of breaks. And a lot of people, you know, it's just like, what do you do during your break? You know, I'll go and draw something. It's like, I'll take a break from drawing to go draw something. That makes a lot of frickin' sense, doesn't it? No, that makes no sense at all. But it makes sense in my brain, and that's what I've kind of developed as a coping mechanism to help me deal with the stress that is involved in creating images for other people for money. Because they require a lot of, how do I put it? There's a lot of quote unquote, let's go ahead and have his eye go over here, because I'm kind of have a, yeah. Excuse me, because whenever money's involved, results are expected. And whenever results are expected, then there's a tendency to, you know, the person paying you has an authority over you. And that, you know, a lot of people can't handle that. There is an authority because they're paying the bills. They're paying that wage or that, you know, that monetization to get something from you, to have you translate something for them. You know, an idea in their head needs to be translated visually, so you have to ask certain questions. And whenever you go and you execute the, you know, that vision for them, they expect you to do things the way that they have told them. In this context, I'm doing things the way that I kind of want. So, you know, I'm doing things in a way, well, actually, not so much I want, I'm doing things so you understand them. So, whenever I'm sitting here and I'm talking, I get distracted. My brain kind of goes, what are you doing? You need to get busy drawing, you moron. Okay, so... Okay, so now if you look, even though this little line right here, let's go ahead and pull this up just a little bit. Even this line right here, you can see I've got the pose, the majority of his weight, and I've got to move this foot back a little bit, is going to be on this. And this one's here to balance, and the weight of this tail is going to balance his head. So let's go ahead and have this go back just a little bit more, have the knee come down. And I have the front of this come, here's the center of him. Okay. Here's the knee hugging the side of him, and here's the other knee. And again, whenever I'm thinking about this, I'm looking at this in terms of anatomy. I've got this knee coming down, so I need to think, okay, so if this knee's coming down, it's hugging right here, and then here's his other hip. So even though I can't see this, I have to determine where it is to accurately place this particular item coming down, which is the other part of his leg. And this comes up like this, because it folds under like that. And then it comes up. So we're going to do the same thing over here. It comes up here. Comes down. And I've got that big, one of the things that really, that big part of the foot, because he's got 3 claws that come out. And that center claw is key. 1, 2, 3. He's got that 3rd one. Comes down. Put that out. And that's going to come a little bit further in. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put some indications of environment. Maybe a rock right here. And again, I'm putting things not arbitrarily. I'm looking, I'll stop occasionally and I'll talk and I'll be looking at the illustration while I'm talking. And I'll see, okay, so I've got this big circle here. I need to balance it with something here because of this big negative space. What that's going to do is it's going to offset, and I'm going to be looking here in this negative space for something to be here. So I'll put a rock right here. I'll put a rock right here. And then I'll have, instead of having that leaf go this way, now I'm going to have a leaf go this way and this way, again to point back at him. And I've got this rhythm and flow. You see how that rhythm goes up? It curves around with his tail and it goes right to his face. So this tail is going to be pointing, again, as I talked about before, balance, right to his face. And, you know, I've talked about drawing through your drawing through the forms and shapes. So we have the outer part of his stomach comes around and it goes, I'm going to draw through this leg slightly and I'm going to make sure that it connects on that same plane with his tail. And then I've got this wavy line right here, which is basically that discoloration between scales and belly. Comes here. And I'm just giving a little indication of it all the way back. And I might even kind of tilt that up to give, even that little tilt right there gives him a little bit of fun attitude. And I might put something there, maybe a bird or something, because he is looking over there. So again, telling that story of the illustration. So let's go back. Let's draw this. Make sure we've got, excuse me, got his arm, comes up. Okay, this other arm is going to come here, and it's, I don't want it to coincide. I don't want to interfere with the silhouette, so I'm going to have it come down. Okay, so here's the part of his shoulder, because here's the part of his back. That comes here. And then that's going to kind of curve up, because it's, again, he's bending. That bending motion is going to have a little bit of a crease, similar to whenever you bend your finger right here and it bends up, and you can see that skin fold coming up. So I'm going to have that skin fold kind of come up, and I'm going to have that bone. I'm thinking bone. Here's his hip. Comes down. And again, you know, even though I've got a round shape right here, I know that underneath there are muscles, there are bones. There are things that push out on the skin in different areas. So if I'm thinking this is the top of the hip, here's his spine, comes up, down, and then here's that outer part of his muscle, which bulges. Again, whenever you squeeze something, it's that mass has to go somewhere, just like this. So whenever I squeeze, that mass goes up. So we're going to have that come up. And then here's the part of his leg here. There. I'm not really happy with how thick this is, so I'm probably going to shore that up just slightly. Comes here, have that go right there. Again. So then now what I'm doing is, again, I've got that arm, I'm going to come here and I'm going to have that hand. A lot of times it behooves you and it benefits you to, even though you want to pose the arm correctly, it's a lot of times better to put the hand in first without worrying about all this garbage over here. Put in the hand the position that you want it, and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about here. So I want this hand and I want this claw to come here. Here's that. And then that overlaps. And I've got that wrist that comes here. Now, you can see, even though I've got an indication of this, it's still not finished and it's really not right. Go ahead and do this because he's got these, again, these big claws. Remember that scene in Jurassic Park where it's not Hammond. Who is that? Anyway, it's the beginning whenever he's talking to the small child, and he's talking about how the raptor, you know, it's got these claws and he'll gut you and your guts will spill out and then he'll eat you whenever you're alive. You know, every single time I think about the raptor and I think about that scene, it always, you know, what was his name? You guys are yelling it at the screen. I know you are. Starts with a G. It'll come to me. I gotta look back in the Rolodex of my brain. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and draw the arm, that pivot right there. So I'm gonna have it come here and then there, here and then there. So let's go ahead and have this indication. Grant. Sadler and Grant. See, I knew I would get it. Okay, so let's go here. Now what I'm doing is just, I'm pretty comfortable in knowing where stuff is now in the context of the illustration, so I'm just going to start putting in a darker line. Now you can see this is a convoluted mess. That doesn't look like a hand, dude. I can see inside of this, and it's kind of turning away because it's on the other side of his body. So this one's kind of turned toward me, so I can see more or less the top of his hand right here. Even though some of these elements are wrong, I'm okay with them right now. Because again, that's, you know, like a placeholder, like a roadmap. And I'm going in and I'm starting to put some of these other elements in. But this hand, I want to see a little bit of the under part of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw just part of it. You know, we look at our hands and whenever we turn them, depending on how we look at them, we can see the bottom part. So that's what I want to see a little bit of right here. And I'm going to have his other finger kind of coming around. And this one turns around. And then this finger is going to be pointed out. So this one comes around, and I've got to think, okay, comes like right there. Good. Actually, that one's wrong. That one's out. And then this one kind of comes around like this. See, talking to you, I keep messing things up. Messing it up, man! And even that, I'm not really happy with that because it's not really indicative. You know, whenever you look at a raptor, they typically have their fingers pulled under, so I don't think this one's going to work. That one's not going to work. So I need to have that here. And then I have it right there, and it curves up. Yes, see, that's much better. And a lot of times the drawing will tell you what it needs. Doesn't that seem a little weird and existential? You're like, wait a minute, bro, your drawings talk to you? What are you on, acid? No, don't do any of that business. But a lot of times you'll look at it and inside you've seen so many drawings and you know so many things and you live in this three-dimensional world. You'll see something and it doesn't look right. Even the layman, you know, whenever they go to, let's say, a museum and they see something and they're just like, And a lot of times you look at something and you can determine if you like it pretty fast. I mean, almost instantaneous. You're like, no, I don't like that at all. No. Go ahead and do this. And what that is you being in a 3D world, you seeing things that are done correctly. You know, you look at things, you don't know how to express it verbally, but you can look at something and say, no, it just doesn't feel right. And a lot of times those words that we use, those emotion words, no, it just doesn't, it makes me feel sad, it makes me feel this, it makes me feel that. The fact that the art makes you feel anything is a wonderful thing because, you know, art is supposed to invoke emotion. But, you know, we as people and don't sit here with art books attached to our brains. We don't have that vocabulary. So we'll use words like cool. That looks really cool. That's good. That's nice. man, what a great job you did. Man, you're talented. You know, I'll go through them all and I'll see these graphite drawings that people have done based on pictures. And I'm thinking, that's not a talent. That is a skill. And you're thinking, okay, what's a talent versus a skill? A skill is developed. Talent is something that naturally occurs. Now, you can develop a talent with a skill attached to it. And I think a lot of those things are wonderful. But a lot of times, you know, drawing is one of those things that some people might have a natural ability that they've developed from a talent into a, you know, using that skill set and added different skill sets to it. And suddenly now they can translate visual things very accurately. You know, and I'm not putting down on those graphite drawings. They're very beautiful. I've seen them. A lot of effort, you know, goes into making those drawings, those portraits, and the lighting and understanding where stuff goes. And that's incredible. And you know, looking at a person in real life and, you know, translating what they see, that to me is just awesome. But I've always been one to say, if I wanted a picture, a realistic picture of a person, I'll just get a camera and I'll take a picture. Whereas a piece of artwork, you know, modification, what's the artistic eye, what's the vision behind what I'm looking at. And whenever I go and see those graphite drawings, it doesn't spark an incredible interest in me, because creatively speaking, that's not even a word, creatively speaking, there we go, it doesn't show a lot of vision introspectively. So, you know, those are things that are beautiful. Those, you know, those beautiful graphite portraits you see in the mall or out maybe at a bazaar or something like that. Now, if that particular graphite drawing, you know, has some type of personal expression on it, and it's not just a complete translation from A to B, then that tells a story. That tells something a little bit different about you know, about the subject matter. And that's kind of what I'm getting at, is artistically speaking, you know, you as an artist, it is up to you to always really push that envelope and make it better. And, you know, whatever you see in the world has an interpretation based upon your vision and what you're seeing at that particular moment and how you're thinking about it. And definitely always draw upon those things whenever you're creating images. You know, that artistic tool belt, that those experiences. You know, I'm always looking at the old masters to really determine what they were thinking, whether it's a study, whether it's a complete composition. You know, what was going on at the time. I always want to look at that and determine, you know, what is the underlying truth of the piece. And then what's really cool is, you know, art is subjective. So one might see something and suddenly another person sees something, and, you know, that creates a dialogue and a discussion, and it's wonderful. So what I'm doing now, as you see, I don't want to say autopilot, but it kind of is. I'm putting in some of those important elements. Let's go and have this tongue come up. Okay. And, you know, putting in those items that make a dinosaur. So I'm going to go ahead and shade this in, because this is kind of in silhouette, because it's, you know, light hitting the top. Coming down. Okay. Raptor. So the Raptor has this really cool gold. Go ahead and sharpen my pencil real quick. That's the most wonderful sound in the world. I like to have that as my ringtone. This cool gold streak. I always thought it was really cool, and I can't remember if it lit up. He shot lightning bolts from his hands. He was awesome. Yeah. Now we're getting somewhere. Okay, so this little fold, head comes down, comes right here. And we're going to have, lizards have these. I heard once, and it is a theory, that, you know, dinosaurs are birds, evolved, and I don't know how I feel about that. There's a lot of similarities, and I won't deny that. And of course, I'll never, quote unquote, make it definitive. That's, you know, as a observer of life and science and artistic explorer. That's kind of what I am. I'm an artistic explorer. I will never definitively say one or the other. You know, jellyfish can't fly. You know, definitively saying that. Well, you know, if you look, air can catch jellyfish and catch them, you know, and have them, quote unquote, go through the air. So if you look at that and you're like, wait a minute, jellyfish can't fly. But what I'm trying to say is I would never definitively say anything A or B whenever it comes to animals, because we know what we know, but we know exactly that. We know what we know, and there's still a lot of things to be said about dinosaurs and what they are and what they were, and you know, if they did indeed evolve from a bird, then, you know, or whatever, then I'm not going to dispute that. But I will say that dinosaurs are cool. Dinosaurs are just cool, man. I just love them. I love drawing them. They're just dragons. I mean, we have dragons. You know, there's dragon things in the ground that we can look at. Let's go ahead and have this come around. Here's his belly. Comes around. Have that tail go down just a little bit more. Okay, and then here's that cool design. This is his sport stripe. I think it's the Raptor, isn't it? I'm pretty sure it is. Look at that, I do stuff for Universal, I don't even know what I'm doing. You know, getting into the minutia of the character design of this particular item and understanding what it is important in the context whenever you're doing products and doing characters and whatnot. But just for this sketch, you know, I can do whatever I want. You know why? Because I'm the artist. I do what I want. Yeah, so little elements here. He was a cool character. At least I thought so. A lot of people didn't like the last Jurassic Park movie. I like all of them. I really like the ones with Jeff Goldblum. I was recently watching something on Disney, Jeff Goldblum, The World According to Jeff Goldblum, I believe, or something along those lines. He's kind of an odd egg. You know, I've always known he was kind of outside the human, the human parameters of thought. But man, watching him, he's got a zeal, his exuberance, and I think it's wonderful. His exuberance for life and his observations. He's just, gosh, I love whenever people are like that, because it shows you there's still people out there that really want to learn, really want to observe, really want to experience life for everything that, you know, it is, which is, you know, it is a wonderful thing. He's got his mouth that comes around. Okay. Now what I'm doing is just putting some of those, again, little elements, and I keep putting off the feet because I'm not really happy with the way they turned out. But for the context of this illustration, we are going to, let's go ahead and have this pivot up. We are going to finish the sketch. Okay, have this come around. All right. Have that come around. Okay, we're going to talk about the drawing here in just a second and some of the decisions I made, so you can kind of look at it and determine if I'm full of crap or not. You're like, you're full of crap. No, I kid. But the reality is a lot of times you'll have, and I see this a lot on YouTube, you'll have an artist that'll draw something and doesn't explain the decisions behind why they did certain things. And I think that ultimately is especially if you're trying to teach something, they're like, it's a tutorial, I'm going to teach you how to draw, and it just shows them drawing. Right? There are quite a few YouTubers that are guilty of this, and what happens is they'll be drawing really popular characters, and they'll have a lot of views. My channel doesn't get a lot of views. I'm not too happy about that, but on the other hand, you know, getting this stuff out to the ones who are interested in watching, that is what I'm really interested in. You know, I've gotten some very good comments, I've had some crappy comments, but overall, I think, you know, the people that are subscribed and are watching genuinely are interested in learning something. So the decision making and why I made certain decisions is important. You know, I talked about through the process that really shows you where stuff goes, and you know, I explained that, but you know, like right here, why did I put the circle here? Again, to balance that entire mass. So now going back, and since I already have something drawn here, just like, you know, we used to do as kids, Legos, I can start building on this particular item. So I can have maybe some branches come out, and thinking in terms of form, the roundness, just simple lines on here to give it some presence in the context of the illustration. So then, you know, I talked about how these plants are pointing back up at him, again, to have focus. And the main area that I really want focus to be is going to be right around here, that attitude. So that I'm going to shade in this eye, because our eye tends to go to the maximum amount of contrast in the piece of art. Right? So, you know, looking at this, I can see the under part of his mouth. I can see the under part of here. So now, you know, as his head turns up, you're going to break this skull plane right here with these eye elements. Right? And, you know, you can see all of this. This is kind of a mess right here right now. So I'll go back. I'll figure out where his knee is. His knee's a little bit lower. So I'll bring this down a little bit. And all these things, as I'm creating them, I hate to say it, but they kind of talk. They kind of talk to me. Here's his knee. Here. We have that right there, part of his thigh comes around, and this right there. As I drop my pencils on the floor. Oh, incidentally, I got new pencils. These are great. These are Koh-i-Noor pencils. They're actually called dry markers, similar to highlighters. And what's really great about these is once you put your base, I wanted to say base mesh because I've been doing so much 3D work, your base color pencil, these act as intensifiers and highlighters and hue luminosity. Like in Photoshop, you can go in and just put these on as kind of like a transparency, like an overlay, and these are wonderful. I got these from Amazon, no affiliation at all. They're about $6. So Chart Pack Astra Neon FX. So it's like made by Koh-i-Noor. It's like basically having a luminosity or an overlay filter on your color pencil traditional art drawings. It's wonderful. So now I'm going back and I'm just, you know, pushing and pulling some of those forms in and out, having some fun. You know, I might go in, I'm coming back from the illustration now. I don't want to have that on the same plane, so I'll have that come here, break that plane right there. Good balance. I definitely want to have some type of leaf. Come here. You know, maybe have a couple rocks back here, but I don't really want to do that. I want to have this come here, here. So then I'm going to do this. And that can all be in silhouette. Shade that in, kind of pull him forward. You know, maybe we got... So if I did it like this, my first inclination is do something like this because I got this curve. So opposing curves like this, again, we're talking about balance. I don't want to do something like this because, again, that's not going to really work. You know, you want to have that opposing element. You know, you don't want to repeat unless it makes sense in the context of the illustration. So now I've got this coming up. So now I'm trying to figure out here. No. There we go. So, you know, if you ever look at the new Pepsi logo and you see all these opposing, you know, forms and the sweeps, it's comforting because there's balance in it. You know, balance. Okay, so now, why did I do certain things? Okay, so obviously I'm thinking about the Indoraptor and how he's constructed, so I have to kind of stay to the core of that. Also, Raptor's 2 legs, small, so this arm is actually too long. So, yeah, that arm is way too long, and it's bent in a way that I don't like, but I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it right now. So here, and then the other, there's his other socket, but it's going to be lower. You can't see that. So yeah, this arm is a little bit too big and a little bit too high. So let's go ahead and do this. A little bit too high. Okay, so I'm going to have it forward a little bit. You know, we always look at these creatures, a little bit of humor, especially Tyrannosaurus Rex with those little, you know, he's got these little hands. And the Raptors are very similar. They use these back legs really for attacking and whatnot. So I'm going to have that other one, and that claw is right there. And that third one's going to be kind of going away from us. Excuse me. So 1 3/4 view, so that's why I've got this leg positioned in front, and I've got all of these items, sort of line of action, you know, that line of action comes here, right here, so everything's kind of pointed in this direction. You know, I've got this hand going up slightly, and I've got this opposing head going down, so again, balance. And then we've got this line of action that sweeps through, and I've got this tail pointing to his head. I've got these elements and items, and I might even do this. I've got some plants here. I've got a couple items I want to point right to his face. You know? So I've got this curved, and I've got this right here kind of mirroring that curve to accentuate and bring up that look. I'm sorry, your eye line to go towards his face. So everything is kind of pointing towards his face. Even, you know, going so far as to bringing this up a little bit further. And I've got this pointing towards, sort of towards his face, and this one as well. Okay. Again, I've got to carry this line right here. I'm not even sure he has this. I think he does. Let's go ahead and wave that up. Here. Good. Good, good. So what I would do now is I would take my eraser and I'd erase all of it. I'm just kidding. I would go in and really just get rid of some of these harsher lines and come back with my pen. So, you know, these drawings, again, these warm-up drawings are meant, and these little tutorials that I'm giving to you guys are just a excited presentation, kind of a primer for some of the items that I'm going to be putting on my Gumroad soon. Oh gosh, he's advertising stuff now. Yeah, because I want to make sure and get stuff out to you guys that has quality presentation, and also, you know, I can make a few dollars for it, so I don't have to sit there at my desk for 10 and 12 and 15 hours a day working. And I can get more stuff out to you guys and teach you. There's a lot of people out there that can't afford education, that really are wanting to get into the art world and be creative, and I want to encourage that. You know, we as artistic people, you know, sometimes we're stuck in jobs that don't foster and don't encourage creativity. We're stuck in jobs, service jobs, and some of you might like them, that's fine, but some of you really endeavor to be more creatively speaking, and I want to give you the opportunity to at least get some of the knowledge that I've accumulated over years and years of being in the industry to really help you. You know, I didn't have the internet. I had to, you know, pay my dues and work at the service jobs while I was trying to go to the library and learn some of these things from the masters. And even then, they didn't have tutorials. They had books that showed you step by step, but they didn't have things that really explained to you. YouTube is great because it gives you that medium to really explore and see how industry people do things like this. And as you see, it's not that hard. It's literally step by step, putting in shapes and forms and using this language and talking about this language. And, this particular drawing is just a great example of some of the drawings and subject matter that I'm going to be putting on Gumroad, and selling to you guys for $2 and $3 a pop, and being able to have that and, to learn from it and to draw from it. Pun intended, of course. You definitely want to draw from it. So, no sales pitch here. But man, if you really want to get into drawing, if you really want to get into digital illustration, if you really want to get into any of that stuff and understanding the principles behind it, it takes effort. I'm going to be honest with you. It takes a lot of effort. It takes time. It takes commitment and all those things that are foreign to a lot of people these days. And you hear a lot of people talking about the current generation. I think the current generation is 10 times smarter than I am. And just to be able to apply some of that intelligence and some of that focus is going to be incredible. And I encourage the young people that are watching this to definitely stay tuned, because I'll be posting some of those videos on Gumroad soon. And just the basic principles of drawing, understanding what form is, understanding what line is, understanding what shape is, shape language, understanding what color is, and applying it to drawing and changing the way you see. So that's where I am today with this. Again, this is, a warm up, and maybe I'll ink it and color it and show you some of my new colored pencils. I'm so excited. Not these, but the other ones. Anyway, thank you guys, and we'll see you next time, okay? Oh, also, please stay tuned and see some of the other videos that I've created, and please like and subscribe. You know what? I always forget that. Like and subscribe if you like what you see, and please click that notification bell, because I need to grow the channel to pay for my Skittles. I kid. Anyway, go and draw something, guys. Have a good day. Bye.